Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Now I know you're all ready for prayer, for meditation, but I'd like you to just settle in your chair so that your body is supported and you don't have to pay attention to it. Breathe. Breathe into your heart. Breathe into this day. Breathe into life. Everything you need to do today will get done after church. That's why you set aside this time right now for yourselves. For your spirits. So this is your time now, just you and the God within you. And everything else goes. You are in the world. You are not alone. Your body is obviously it functions as material bodies, material substance to survive. Yes. Yes. You will finally feel abundantly alive. Where you can give it all you've got with open hearts. Thank you, darling, for this tonight's reading and help us open to the fuller consciousness of our connection. So it is.
Make me a shadow of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me bring your love. Where there is injury, your pardon, Lord. And where there's doubt, true faith in you. Make me a channel of your peace. Yes, this fair in life, let me bring home. Where there is darkness, only light. And then the sadness ever shows. Oh, Master, grant that I may never see so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Make me a channel of your peace. Is in pardoning that we are pardoned, giving of ourselves that we receive, and denying that we're born to eternal life. Oh, Master, grant that I may never see so much to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love with all my soul. Make me a channel of your peace. Is in pardoning that we are pardoned, giving of ourselves that we receive, denying that we're born to eternal life, denying that we're born to eternal life.
I was talking to Sean just a while ago, in fact, and I said, I don't usually speak at two services, and it's kind of hard for me to try to say the same thing to you all that I just said to all those folks earlier. And but that's not the idea when you have two services. Kind of get it well. So I'm going to repeat something I said in the first service. Only it's unbelievable. I asked Sean first service what song he was going to sing for this service, which is titled Life, a Labor of Love. And he said, well, I didn't really know what the title was, but I picked the song he just sang, the Peace. And oh my, that is, and I didn't say this first service, Sean, that is the sermon right there. The music that thrilled us and lifted us, and the words that said it all for us. It was amazing. I just love how Spirit works in us and through us. Thank you. And Charlene reminded me that you all feel very blessed for the music you have here. I feel very blessed for the privilege of hearing it when I'm here. Thank you. Well, since tomorrow's Labor Day, I wanted to tell a story about labor. And I usually like to start with a little humor. So this little story takes place in Castle Rock, Colorado, on a ranch. But Ethan told me in between services that he's going to Texas, and I know Texas is full of much bigger ranches probably than they have in Colorado, so it could have been there too. But anyway, story goes: the Wage and Hours Government Department claimed Mickey, who owns the ranch, is not paying his workers standard or appropriate salaries. So he says, I need a list of your employees and how much you pay them. And Mickey says, well, there's my ranch hand who's been with me 5 years. I pay him $600 a week and he gets free room and board. My cook's been with us 18 months and she gets $500 a week, also free room and board. And then there's the halfwit. He works 18 hours a day and does about 90% of all the work that gets done here. And I pay him $10 a week usually. And he pays for his own room and board. But on Saturday nights, I buy him a bottle of bourbon. And the wage and hour guy looks at him and he says, I need to speak to that guy. And he says, you are. So my thought was, I sure hope that ranch was a labor of love for him because he's not making much profit. not when I do the arithmetic. So Romans 12:6 says we all have different gifts. We just heard some gifts awesomely given to us there. But this specific incident is Exodus 31:1 and 2, where it highlights gifts given to a man named, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Bezalel. At least that's how it's spelled. Bezalel was among the Israelites taken out of Egypt on their way to the Promised Land. And his job was to construct the tabernacle, which they needed in order to conduct their worship during this, what turned out to be much longer than they thought it was going to be, Exodus. So I was on a Reformed Jewish website looking for the 2 holidays this month for them, and I always consider, I should keep up with that because after all, Jesus was a Jew, so I do. Anyway, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur take place during September, and I was looking those things up. But on there, I found this information about gifts. And I thought, oh, that's going to fit with my lesson. So I read it and took notes. This is directly from that website. Bezalel's, this is the rabbi speaking, special gifts are named and lauded by none other than the Holy One of Being. The Torah states, see, I have singled out by name Bezalel. I have endowed him with the divine spirit of skill, ability, and knowledge in every kind of craft. Bezalel's gift, still the rabbi, was in the power to combine the elements to create beauty. He knew how to put the pieces of the tabernacle together with grace, elegance, and dignity. That was his unique gift. But the sage's text clearly states that it was not him alone who received special propensities. And this is a quote from the sages. One person for every task. Every individual is endowed with a gift from our Creator. Each person has their own talent, a gift the Divine Spirit has planted within them at birth. It's the contribution that is theirs alone to make while they're on earth, and this gift is waiting to be uncovered and used, because if it's not, they won't find their purpose and meaning in life. That's the end of that, what I just read from the website. But it kind of fits with Romans 12, which says we have different gifts according to grace given to us. So I feel like whatever, sometimes we think it's said in the Old Testament, it doesn't necessarily carry over to the New, right? Well, if it's repeated, I say yeah, it does. So we, apparently, were given at birth, as the rabbi said, certain propensities, a gift. And knowing the sense of humor of God, those gifts come in many, many varieties. Look at his animals and plants, the varieties of them. And they're not necessarily useful. Sometimes they're decorative. Sometimes they're funny. They all serve a purpose in this life. So, at least as far as God is concerned, we may not understand it. So if we don't express them, though, we find our life to be gray, just kind of monotone gray. And we might even find it to feel meaningless. We may feel overwhelmed by the stress and maybe even by the monotony of our life if we're not recognizing those gifts within us. But when we're in sync with those gifts, with our divine, with our divine soul leading, what is sometimes called by us the Christ within, when we're in sync with that and expressing it, we feel naturally enthusiastic about life. And in fact, I love that word, enthusiastic. Um, it comes from the root word enthos, the Greek word, that one was anyway. And it means possessed by God. Isn't that awesome to imagine? Possessed by God. And you know what? Sometimes when you see somebody who is really over the top enthusiastic, they kind of do look like they're possessed, maybe, you know? But it's the divine spirit that is possessing them. My favorite example of a life possessed by God is found in a novel by a name I can't pronounce, Nikos I can, first name. The last name is Kazantzakis. Nikos Kazantzakis. Some of you probably know what I'm going to mention. Zorba the Greek, then made into a movie for those of you who don't read long Greek novels. But the very best part of it is you may have recognized among the enthusiastic people you know, those we sometimes even call them charismatic, which also is another word for divine gift. Charisma, charisms. Anyway, these people have a radiance about them that just makes you feel good when you're in their presence. They don't have to say anything smart or memorable to you. Just being around them feels good. So, this Zorba the Greek is actually based on a real person that Nikos knew on the island of Greece. He knew somebody who acted like this, and then he incorporated it into his protagonist. Zorba, in the story, and I'm sure the real one, is a passionate lover. I like to think he was anyway. Brave fighter, hard-working miner, endless adventurer, soulful musician. This is the best part I like about it. He cooks, not creatively, he cooks with intent. Isn't that wonderful? Cooking with intent. He tells stories you don't want to end. And he dances when he has something to say and he can't figure out how to put it in words, but he's got to say it. He dances it. If you've seen interpretive dancing, and I have, I love that. what is her name, Catherine Graham? I don't know. Anyway, the dancer who kind of invented interpretive dance. What? Martha, thank you, Martha Graham. There's probably a Catherine Graham that I'm thinking, but it's Martha Graham. I have her book, and I can just picture her. And she's an older woman in this book, and she's showing people how to move, not to a script, but to the spirit. Anyway, he danced. Jesus said, oh, and the reason he danced, I forgot this enthusiast part. He's in love with life. He's a Renaissance man, I guess. That's what real Renaissance men were, in love with life. They couldn't limit themselves to one course. Jesus said all of the many, many commandments that were heaped on them. I mean, it was more than the 10. They kept adding stuff. These rabbis of the various Sadducees, Pharisees, all of them, they all had something to say. But he said they were really, in essence, all about love. Loving God, loving ourselves, and loving, remember, includes forgiving. Loving ourselves, loving other humans, loving all of life, the animals, the plants, the Mother Earth, the moon, loving all of it, loving what we do, loving the five senses that connect us with earth, loving the other senses that connect us with the divine. All of that, when we live from that love, we know that everything, everyone, every circumstance is exactly where it should be for now. Because remember, life is described as like a river. It's always moving. They say you can't put your foot in it twice in the same place. Well, okay. Life is like that, always moving. So you can look at life where you see it and say, it's as it should be right now. It may be different later. Right now, it's perfect. And guess what? It's going to be perfect next time you look at it too. And the next time. Because all of it is there for the love of God. All of it. And ultimately, in what we say and what we probably know when we think about it is God is all. God is, I say he, God is, it is, all that is. This is God. So you, just like Brother Lawrence taught in that little book of his called Practicing the Presence of God, can go through your days, your life, its trials, and its pleasures, all for the love of God. Oops, so you're not there yet? I'm not either. Don't think of it all as the love of God. I'm on my way. So are you. But when life that wants to live through us is denied or stifled or just ignored as if it weren't there, we don't thrive. And as we continue to, and it will submit symptoms to us. Hey, I'm here. I'm bound. And it presents symptoms to us in our life, in our bodies, in our circumstances. And if you ignore those symptoms, they get harder to explain away as normal. For instance, we try, I just need to get more rest. I need more money. I need to get my meds changed. I need to buy the right, whatever it is. We may sense that things aren't right and that they need to be changed, but we have no idea maybe what specifically it is. Now, if it's in your body, you can go to Louise Hay. She's got a whole list of symptoms in your body that apply to symptoms of the spirit or whatever. And that's interesting. And anyway, just whatever you need to do, think on it, pray on it, talk to God about it. try to find out what's not working and try to get at its root. And the main thing is be gentle when you're going through this. Be gentle with yourself. I heard someone I care for very much recently just say that there's very little unstructured life, unstructured time in the life that one is living. And we need that. Be gentle. Take it when you can, how you can, and use that time to discover who you are and what is the gift that life is trying to live through you. Talk to God, however that comes to you. And I've got another story about that. It's written, I didn't make this up. Leo Tolstoy wrote a short story called The Three Hermits, and it fits with this prayer thought. On an island, three very, very old but very pious hermits live. And they're called hermits, you know why? Because they don't even hardly talk to themselves, and they're all that's on that island. But the villagers would row their boats out there when they had a problem or when they needed healing. And the hermits didn't talk to them, they didn't give them lessons, they didn't do anything. Just being in the hermit's presence would sometimes heal the issue, often. Well, the local bishop heard about them, and he was a kind man and felt sympathetic because they were isolated, they were very old, and they hadn't had much education. So he was going to teach them some proper religion. He hired a ship to take him there so he could spend a few days. I think he planned on 3 days with them. And after the first day, it was really obvious to him that this was not going to work the way he thought. He tried to focus then. He narrowed everything down. He was going to teach them to one thing, the Lord's Prayer. He's going to teach them the Lord's Prayer because their only prayer was, we are three, thou art three, have mercy on us. That was their only prayer. When they said one, that was it, under any circumstances. So he taught them, in the next 2 days, they would repeat that prayer over and over and over, holding hands. They would repeat the prayer in the bishop's presence. The bishop was pretty confident at the end of 3 days that they could get it. So he breathed a sigh of release to the Spirit of God, and in the evening, he got on his little boat and went out to the ship. Well, the ship's making some headway, and it's dark, and then there's this bright light heading towards the ship, and it's getting brighter and closer, and the crew is getting really nervous. The bishop, though, a man of God, he's curious, so he leans over and out to see what's making that light. Ah, it's the three old hermits holding hands, and they're running on those waves, trying to catch up with the boat and the bishop. They get within voice range and they say, we have forgotten your teaching, servant of God. As long as we kept repeating the words, we could say them. But we stopped for a moment and a word fell out. And now it's all gone to pieces. Teach us again. The humbled bishop looked at them and said, your own prayer will reach heaven. It is not for me to teach you. Pray for us sinners. And he bowed low before them. So it's not the words we use. The prayer that comes from your heart is what reaches heaven, or whatever, what I mean. It's not what comes out of your mouth. It's what came out of your heart and tried to come out of your mouth. What you need to do, though, is speak from your heart and hush your mind. And when I say speak from your heart, let the silence of the heart do the speaking. But you have to hush it. You have to let the mind be still. Because while the heart is speaking, the heart also has to listen to the answer of its prayer. And it can't if the mind is busy making lists. I'm a list maker. So we have to learn that along the way somewhere. Otherwise, this is true of us. I think, therefore I am. And you know the joke. Confused. Okay. Anthony DeMello, one of the Catholic people I like a lot. There is a vast difference between awareness and analysis. And information is not insight. And knowledge is not the same as knowing. So that's why you get the mind still. In conclusion, I kind of like to leave a few how-tos, starting points on this journey. Now, there are an infinite number, and I don't have an infinite amount of time, and I have a feeling you guys will leave a lot sooner than that anyway. So, I've got a few though. Here's a way to start. View the symptoms in your body and circumstances as messages from your stifled soul. And as I said, start maybe with Louise Hay and go from there. Pay attention to what expands energy in you and what is contracting energy in you. Those are messages from your soul. 3, notice synchronicities, coincidences, and signs from the universe. They're all about us. All about us. I see them every day. And so will you when you start looking for them. Stay open and curious. Curious. I loved watching the children this morning. Let go. Number 5, let go. If life feels out of control, and don't move until you feel go all Eckhart Tolle sitting on the park bench, unless you got a landlord who wants you to move. Next, or another, release what no longer, this is important, what no longer serves your life, including personal and organizational relationships and ideas. All of these things may have served you at one point, but be willing to release them when they no longer serve you where you are now in this river of life you're flowing in. And that doesn't mean they're wrong for the next person. It just means they're not yours now. E.B. White, who is an author, wrote Charlotte's Web and a lot of other fun and very wise children's books. And he went through this, belonging to organizations and commitments, and then moving on and having to disentangle. And he had one very simple response. Maybe you can memorize this or maybe you can modify it. I love it. I must decline for secret reasons. Okay, 2 more. Consistently move toward what interests you. Your soul speaks to you in curiosity, longings, dreams. Restlessness is a message from your soul. Wonder and joy are too. And step out of your routines sometimes. Just to keep yourself out of a soul-killing rut. And if you get lost, maybe you are exactly where you should be right now. I like this. Is there something that gets you out of bed in the morning? A project you're excited about? Coffee for me. The sun rising over the ocean. Hungry pets, maybe your beloved. If nothing is making you just jump out of bed saying, rise and shine, honey, it's here, then do one thing I've done, but look for something that works for you. But what I do is, other people do their to-do lists in the morning while they're having their coffee. My best friend does that. I do it the night before. For one thing, it helps me sleep. I read that. Make the list, and then you can go to sleep because you know it's written down. You won't forget. Okay, but on that list, I put something that's fun. So I know when I get up in the morning and look at my to-do list, oh, wait, I have to have lunch with Verna. And isn't that fun? And you know what? If you could put more than one fun thing on there, that's okay. Whatever it takes to start your day off, just great. Now, Jesus said, I came that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly, and that means a life that feels alive to the liver of that life. Our souls will lead us, definitely, to some unexpected places. But love actually makes them all worthwhile. So let's celebrate Labor Day tomorrow enthusiastically, possessed by God, however you and God decide to do that. And may we all live in the pure bliss of love and life. Thank you, God.